As Pakistan votes, mobile services across the country have been suspended. This is just one of the many restrictions that have been imposed on Pakistan in an election that is being called a selection rather than a free and fair election. An election in which Imran Khan is behind bars and Nawaz Sharif is widely tipped to be the next prime minister. An election in which the outcome is known even before votes have been cast. To talk about what might happen, what the army's game plan is, how to make sense of this election, which is really a selection, why mobile and internet services have been suspended, and what it all means, not just for the region of South Asia, but for global politics, and what Pakistan's military might sort of take as an approach towards both the United States of America and China. Let's introduce Husain Haqqani. Ambassador Haqqani has been Pakistan's ambassador to the United States of America. He is also, of course, now at the helm of the Hudson Institute. He joins us today. It's always a great pleasure, Hussein. Let me start by asking you how you would characterize this election that is taking place in the shadow of internet and mobile restrictions, one key leader behind bars, and a wide consensus on only one thing, that this is not a free and fair election.
Barkha, people have short memories. This is actually a rerun of what happened in 28, except that the victim and the likely winner are reversed. If you remember, Nawaz Sharif was in prison, as was his daughter in 2018. Large number of PML-N candidates and activists were behind bars. The election was held under many restrictions. This time, perhaps there are some restrictions that are more pronounced than others. The number of people from the PTI who are in prison may perhaps be comparable, but because the PTI has a bigger, Imran Khan's party has a bigger social media presence, the restrictions on the internet and cell phone use, which were also there in 2018, may have been more accentuated. So what we are seeing is a rerun. It's nothing new. It's unfortunate. It should not happen to any political party. What is difficult is that whereas when it happened alternately to Nawaz Sharif and Benazir Bhutto, the two of them had the wisdom to come together and sign what was known as the Charter of Democracy. And they realized that if they work together on at least one point, which is to accept power only through free and fair elections, then maybe there is a chance of negotiating with the military for some form of civilian rule. Imran Khan doesn't seem prepared to do that. He still hopes and wants a revolution. I think that hopes of that revolution will be dashed if, even after losing this election, Imran Khan's supporters do not pour into the streets in the millions. I don't think that will happen because, very frankly, it's very difficult for somebody whose sum total of political activism is limited to tweeting abuse at people that he or she disagrees with. For such people, a long drawn battle is difficult. So my prediction, whatever happens in the election, there will be a government formed. It is not going to be a government that is going to be very sympathetic to Imran Khan and his party. The claims about election rigging will remain, which have been there in the past as well. And Pakistan will hobble forward. Question, will that hobbling forward be exactly according to past hobbling forward efforts, or will there be a qualitative difference? And that is where I am focusing my energy on trying to figure out.
Before we get to what might happen after the election, you seem pretty certain, almost like every other Pakistani expert that we've been speaking with, that that the outcome is foreclosed, that this is a rigged election. Is rigged the word you'd use?
No, I won't say that it's a rigged election. I would say it's a fixed election, just like the 2018 election was fixed.
What's the difference?
Basically, I don't think
What's the difference
the difference between a rigged and a fixed election, Barkha, is very simple. A rigged election is that votes are cast for somebody, but they are counted for somebody else. That's rigging. A fixing is creating an environment in which things become very difficult for one party and become much easier for the other. Now, the PML-N has a support base in Pakistan's largest province, Punjab, as does the PTI. PTI's support is more urban. Right now, PML-N is more evenly divided between rural and urban support. What has been done is that the PTI has been deprived of all avenues of free and fair campaigning. Their leaders is in prison. Their access to media has been limited. Their candidates have been intimidated. They have been deprived of their party's electoral symbol, which, as you know, in the subcontinent is very important. All of that is part of the fixing of the election. I am not too sure, and we'll find that out after the votes are counted, that there is going to be that much of a meddling in the actual counting of the vote, because that usually is what most people call rigging. That is why in 2018, international observers said the election was not transparent, it was not fully fair, free and fair, but it does reflect some semblance of what the people may have wanted. And I think a similar outcome should be expected this time, that by and large, except for PTI supporters and their frustrations, people would be allowed to come out and vote and have their vote counted.
So when Imran Khan's party...
It's not democracy. It's not democracy. It's not fair. But I'm just trying to be more nuanced in explaining what exactly is happening.
I understand that nuance differentiation, but you do say that this is not a democracy at work. This is a remote controlled, calibrated outcome at work. Imran Khan's party calls it the worst ever political engineering. Is that a description that you would agree with?
It is political engineering. It's bad political engineering. Political engineering per se is bad. My difference with the characterizations of the Imran Khan party is that they tend to say that everything that happens to them is happening for the first time, or it's really bad, because they really, in their heart of hearts, believe that their opponents deserved it, whereas they don't. Remember, Imran Khan never objected to the military's political role in principle. He supported General Musharraf in his referendum. He opposed both major political parties that were opposed to military rule. He came to power with the military's assistance and support. He proudly proclaimed that he was on the same page as the then army chief. Only when he was removed from office did he start expressing some anger towards the military. So the anger is not about the fact that they interfere in politics. The anger is that their interference has removed Imran Khan and PTI from power. People who have had a long history of supporting democracy in Pakistan and paying a huge price for it over a long period of time are still not sure whether Imran Khan opposes military political intervention, or all he wants is to be the beneficiary of such intervention. So they exaggerate what happens to them. They do not accept and acknowledge what has happened to others, on many an occasion with Imran Khan and the PTI's full backing and support.
Let's look ahead. I think it seems clear that you believe that Nawaz Sharif will be the prime minister again. Is that correct?
I think so.
Okay, let's imagine that Nawaz Sharif, who previously has been on the other side of this debate, burnt bridges with the Pakistan military, described the Prime Minister of Pakistan to be the boss of the Pakistan army chief, then spent the next few years alternating between jail and living in exile in London, now back. Do you expect a different, more pliant Nawaz Sharif this time?
I don't think that Nawaz Sharif will be pliant. I think Nawaz Sharif will be a little more reticent, and he understands the limitations of the game. He doesn't agree with them, but he understands them, as does Asif Ali Zardari and Bilawal Bhutto Zardari. I think that the difference between Imran Khan and these traditional parties is that because they have fought this battle several times and lost, they now understand that there is a ground reality and we need to increase civilian role in power politics of Pakistan gradually. So I think the first few months are going to be totally focused on restoring the economy. The military also wants that. I think Nawaz Sharif wants that too. Then we will see whether the military and Nawaz Sharif can work together, or will we go back to the old pattern of the military feeling that the civilians want too much independence, or the civilians feeling that the military's intervention is going too far.
Now, talk about what this might mean, if anything at all, for the India-Pakistan relation, a relationship that has been in deep freeze, a relationship that you have not just monitored, but also been on the inside track of. Often in the last few years, there's a perception of Nawaz Sharif as being more favorably disposed towards India. He's also been making very interesting comments. He's been talking about India's moon mission. He's been talking about the state of Pakistan's economy and saying, इसमें हम हिंदुस्तान को जिम्मेवार नहीं ठहरा सकते, ये हमारी अपनी गलती है. वो देखिए वो कहाँ पहुंच गए, वो चांद पर पहुंच गए और देखिए हम कहाँ हैं. What do you make of all of these comments, or do you believe that Nawaz Sharif's own opinion doesn't count for anything? It's what Asim Munir wants to do that is important.
Nawaz Sharif has been in politics for almost 4 decades. There are two things that have been his consistent political characteristics. He has changed his stance many times. On many other issues, his position has altered, but these two things have been consistent. First, his commitment to a robust Pakistani economy. I think because he's a businessman and comes from a business family, he instinctively feels that if Pakistan will have a better, more methodical free market economy with better infrastructure, Pakistan will do better, Pakistanis will do better. The second thing that is instinctive in Nawaz Sharif is that he understands that Pakistan's economic progress may not be possible if Pakistan is constantly at loggerheads with India. So if you remember, he's the person who, after testing, now on the one hand, he is a Pakistani nationalist, he tested Pakistan's nuclear weapons, but then soon after that, he was willing to talk to Prime Minister Atal Bihari Vajpayee in the so-called Lahore process. Then, when he came to power again, and we must remember, he has only been allowed to contest 2 elections in the last 25 years, both of which he won. He, at that time, also started back-channel talks with Prime Minister Modi and then invited him to Lahore. Now, both times he was frustrated. This time, he's a lot more circumspect. He understands that there is a need for better relations with India. On the other hand, he understands the limitations that are imposed on both him and the Indian leadership by the circumstances that exist in both our countries. So I think that Nawaz Sharif will try to normalize with India again, but I think he will not do it independent of the military, so that this time his efforts are not frustrated. And if the military says, let's not do it this way right now, he will accommodate their concerns rather than try to bypass them.
All right, Ambassador Haqqani, before we end briefly, fixed election, not quite democracy, been here before, deja vu. What would you want people who don't really understand Pakistan and its inner working as closely as you do to understand about today? What's the most significant thing taking place today? Is it that there's some kind of election taking place at all? Or is it that the Pakistan military has perfected a post-coup politics where they continue to be in the driver's seat while pretending that the car is driven by someone else?
I think both things are equally important. It is important that the people of Pakistan still would take a semblance of democracy over the end of democracy. They can't make democracy work, but at the same time, they don't want to give up on it. That's one part of it. That is why this exercise has to be undertaken every few years. On the other hand, the other reality is that Pakistan's people have not yet been able to find a way of bypassing the strength, dominance, and total control of Pakistan's military. And we will only find out if it is a desire of some intellectuals and urban intelligentsia, or do the people really want a democratic system with less and less intervention by the military? And if the latter is true, I have a feeling that the military will receive that message one way or another.
Ambassador Husain Haqqani, it's always a pleasure, but we look forward to talking to you in more detail once the results are officially in, even though the results seem to be a foregone conclusion. Yet there will be a lot to unpack once it's officially done. Thank you very much for your time today. Take care and see you soon. Mojo Story has always made a commitment to its viewers to go to where the story is. And as you can see here, we are at the epicenter of the Israel war on Gaza. We are right at the front line, about 1 mile from the Gaza Strip, as the Israeli military gets ready with its tanks and its gunners to begin its final frontal assault that will take troops into Gaza. As we said, we are not like other organizations. We believe in giving you all sides of a story objectively and as much as possible from the ground. And that's exactly what we're doing here, covering the biggest global story today from the epicenter of the war zone. So please, we need your support. Support us, become a Mojo member, subscribe to us, spread the word, and thank you for your support.